When you think of an airsoft cheater, the first thing that probably comes to your mind is going to be somebody who's blatantly not calling their hits. But there's a lot of other cheating in airsoft that I see all the time in airsoft that people just don't talk about. So in today's video, I want to go over those ways that I see players cheating and how we can help to curb this in our hobby. What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane and welcome back to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsoft field through our educational videos. If you enjoy the content we create here, I'd love it if you joined our community by hitting the subscribe button down below. While you're at it, hit the bell icon next to it to get updates when we post brand new videos. So there's a lot of different ways to cheat in airsoft, and the goal of today's video is to make you aware of some of them that you may not have thought about so that we can be more vigilant and prevent them in the future. Everybody knows about airsoft cheaters. I mean, God, they're probably the most popular videos for airsoft here on YouTube, but there's other ones that I feel that don't get much attention. Now, the first one that I want to talk about for today's video is a way of cheating that I see every single time I play airsoft, but not a lot of people talk about it, and that is the idea of breaking the rule of dead men tell no tales. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this rule or just the saying, maybe you're new to airsoft, the idea is simple. Once you're dead and you yell out, "hit," you're not supposed to talk anymore because dead people don't talk anymore. This is to prevent you from giving your teammates any sort of intelligence, just flat out cheating, giving them an advantage that they wouldn't have had unless you didn't die. And this is actually a scenario that I ran into the last time that I played airsoft. I was rounding a corner and the guy maybe 20 feet in front of me gets hit. As he's walking back to me, he goes, "Oh, you know, he's behind the red barrel." And this puts me in a really weird situation because now what do? If I use that information and I immediately aim for the red barrel and shoot that guy, you know, I just condoned him cheating, and I feel like by extension, I'm cheating as well. Or, you know, like, what can I do? I always have that advantage because of what that guy told me, so I basically just need to go somewhere else. And I feel like that can ruin it for me because, like, I wasn't the one trying to cheat, but now I have this information that I shouldn't have. The other way that I notice that this happens, which is really sneaky, tends to happen with more organized groups of players, is where they'll use your radios to cheat. So it won't just be like a passing, like, "Hey, he's over there." It'll be like over the radio as they're walking back, like, "He's in the tower," or whatever. And I just feel like it gives you a super unfair advantage, and it's not in the spirit of the game. And I feel like if you're going to airsoft to get a ton of kills, I don't think you get the point of airsoft. It's to have fun by just like enjoying yourself and being a kid for a day, basically. But for me, this is just one of those ways of cheating in airsoft that I see all the time. Like I said, almost every single time that I play airsoft, I run into this in one form or another. Now, like I said, there are some pretty sly ways to do it, like with the radios that I mentioned, but I've also seen people be like pretty deliberate. Like they'll die, like let's say they get knifed or something, where you're supposed to be relatively silent, or just at the minimum yell "hit" and walk to respawn. And they'll be like, "Hit, oh my God, I can't believe you knifed me," or like, "Hit," and then they're like pointing to the guy. Like that, it just drives me crazy that people are this invested in "I have to be good at airsoft" that they're willing to cheat like this, and it really just, I don't get it, personally. Now, the second way of cheating that I want to talk about in airsoft that I feel like this one has gotten a lot of attention over the last couple of years is HPA Players cheating. Now, I'm going to preface this part of the video by saying that I use HPA airsoft guns myself. I've been using them for probably 3 or 4 years now. I love them, I see the advantages, but I see how they can be abused. And I actually experienced this the last time that I played airsoft. That was admittedly the idea for today's video. I'm not gonna name the field I was at. But in the middle of a game, or middle of a day, excuse me, right before we started, I saw a guy snip off his tournament lock, which if you're unfamiliar, to make sure that HPA players don't like crank up their FPS or their rate of fire, most fields will put a zip tie through that little adjuster so that you can't do it. And he snipped the zip tie and I watched him, you know, crank down his regulator so he'd have a higher FPS. That is blatant cheating. That is completely unexcusable, and you can call me a Karen all you want. I went right up to the ref and told him. Because as somebody who is also using HPA and I'm following the rules, one, why should that guy be able to cheat? And two, if I was on the other team, I'd be pissed. So call me a Karen all you want, but I immediately told a ref. I have no idea what happened to the guy. But this is something that happens a lot. And I know some people are gonna think it as soon as I said this. It was not a speed softer. I just wanna make that absolutely clear. In all honesty, I think I've seen more like full-grown adults, like 40-year-old men trying to like reenact Rambo or be a Navy SEAL. I've seen more of them cheat than I've ever seen kids or speed softers cheat in airsoft. So Let's just get that right out of the way. But this is something that I've noticed before. It's been an issue more so in other times, it's more controversial. But I think this really just falls down to the field making sure that they have these kind of systems in place to curb that sort of cheating. Because let's be honest, while you might say, oh, well, you know, HPA players are cheaters, if AEGs had the same capability to change the FPS or the rate of fire very quick, you know people would use those to cheat as well. So it's not the system, it's just that the player just sucks flat out. So what I would recommend for a field is when you chronograph somebody who is using an HPA airsoft gun, not only do you use the little zip tie on the regulator, but I've also seen these little zip ties that have enough room for you to write the velocity on them. So that way, like let's say your field implements like a 3-strike system. You notice that a player doesn't have their tournament lock on, like let's say you check them every time they go out into the field, every time they come back as well, so they can't have done it out on the field and then walk by and be fine. You notice that their tournament lock is snipped, that's 1 strike. You then immediately chrono them if it is within 10% difference of where it was on that little tag, another strike on them, because that sort of cheating is completely unacceptable. It leads to a stigma that HPA players are a bunch of cheaters who are just out there to hurt people, and it's just unacceptable. Like, you already have a good airsoft gun because you have a Polar Star or a Wolverine or a Redline. Like, what's that additional velocity gonna give you? Like, just play the game. Like, it's not, you're not supposed to have a super unfair advantage over other people. We're playing with toy guns. Which, while we're talking about HPA players, I feel like it's important to talk about chronograph cheating as well, which is something that I don't notice because it's very hard to tell, but it's something that is pretty easily achieved. And that would be a player who has a gun that is shooting too hot, abusing FPS rules by, like, let's say their gun's shooting too hot, so they put 3 2s in there and say they have 2 5s. To any field that uses FPS for their velocity limits, what that's going to do is it's going to make it look like that gun is shooting softer than it is. That might allow that player to have no minimum engagement distance, whatever it may be, just allow their gun to be on the field, and that's going to mean that somebody, you know, might get hurt if they get shot up close. You know, again, it's not fair for these people to skip the rules when everybody else playing Airsoft is not doing so. My recommendation for this is, one, field should chronograph in joules. I'm surprised after the 10 years I've been in Airsoft, this is not the standard yet because it is much, much easier to do. At the same time, field should supply their own BBs for chronograph, because I understand it'll make it slower, and that's what I've heard mainly from referees. They're like, oh, well, you know, it takes forever to pass a speed loader to everybody, but you need, what, 10 BBs at most? And at the same time, it's going to make sure that you're consistent and fair to all platforms. Going out and buying a bottle of 3 2s to use for your field is going to cost you, what, like $10 at dealer cost? And you're going to make sure that you have a much better chronograph system, and you're not going to have anybody complain that things are unfair for them or any other platform. I understand it can be hard with gas blowbacks and stuff like that because I don't use standard magazines, but I think that it's something that fields should incorporate overall, is not only measuring in joules, but using your own BBs just to cut down on ways that people could possibly, cheat at their field. Finally, there's a couple of small ways I want to talk about that I don't see all the time, but every time that they come up, it's super annoying and honestly kind of sad. So the first one that I want to talk about, which is actually really funny when I see it happen, is people who pretend to be dead. Well, there's nothing in most rules that specifically says that you can't, like, walk behind 2 guys who are going back to respawn. If you're either using dead people as a shield or you're trying to blend in with them, you're just bad at Airsoft. I have no other way of saying it, man. Like, you suck. And you're that guy. Which brings me to the other point that I want to make really quick, is people who try to, like, game the rules or, like, stay within the boundaries of it. It just drives me absolutely crazy. They're like, oh, well, it doesn't say that I can't in the rules, so I'm going to. Or like the prime example is fields that don't allow gun hits, but people put like those shields on their gun that remind them of that character from Rainbow Six Siege, Blackbeard. Like, those things drive me crazy, because like I'm not gonna notice that you have it from 200 feet away, but you're gonna be like, oh, you know, you didn't hit me, even though your last 50 shots would have hit me right in the face. Stuff like that just drives me absolutely crazy. So there you have it, guys. Those are some ways that I see people cheat on the airsoft field all the time, but they really don't get any attention and nobody talks about them. What sort of ways do you see cheating on the airsoft field? Make sure to let me know those, and as well as some possible solutions down in the comments below. I like to read every single comment on these videos, and I try to reply to as many as I can. But you might be asking yourself, well, what do I watch next? Why don't you check out one of our viewer favorite videos right up here, or you can click down here to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon as always, and if you want to check out even more great Airsoft content off of YouTube, make sure to check out our website, thebbwarrior.com. This has been Lane talking about some of the common ways that I see airsoft players cheat, and I'll see you all next time.